Hello, everyone. Welcome to Andrea Actually, and you're actually listening to Andrea. What an honor. I'm honored also for you to be here. So not a whole lot of cockiness. Whoa. No, just kidding. But so today's episode is going to be surrounded. That's not really the word I want to use. I gotta think of the right word, guys. That's not the word, and it totally doesn't capture what I'm trying to say. Centered? There we go. Centered. Today's episode is going to be centered around the Five of Swords. What is the Five of Swords? For you who don't know what the Five of Swords is, it's a tarot card. And the swords, they represent air, the mind, intellect. Just briefly, I'm going to dive into a whole bunch of stuff as the video progresses. So that's just the baseline of what I want to touch. So I have been studying tarot for quite some years now, and I wanted to integrate it into my podcast because I think if I can center my podcast around a card a day, then that'll be great because it really can capture the collective energy. Because like, even though I didn't shuffle and say, oh, what's the collective reading for today? It's the energy, and it's not the world. I'm the world, you're the world, we're the world, and we're all a lot more connected than people think, which is, it's disheartening, honestly, because I think if people understood that we're all a lot more connected, people would be treated better. But that's just me and being a radical, right? It's a radical opinion to want that, and apparently, which it shouldn't be, but that's fine. That just means you're around the wrong people in the wrong environment, and I've come to understand that. No sweat off my back. So the Five of Swords is a win at all costs kind of card. It's like a war card when I see it. And I want to talk about that as a holistic thing to like what's going on in our society, is because we are in a war. We have always been in a war. And I'm an American citizen, and I know that that's true for America. And it's been on domestic grounds the whole time. And I think that's important to highlight, that the domestic terrorism. Like, when I think of the Five of Swords, I think of terrorism and many other things. I think of complex post-traumatic stress disorder also. So I think of instantaneous reactions like your id, your super id, and your ego. I think of those things. So also, because with the guy holding the three swords and the Rider-Waite deck, those three swords, it's a winner, and he disarmed the other battlers, So I think that's you, operating in that super ego, and that, the ego and the id. So with that being said, now I forget where I was going with that. We'll cut that out. Cut. Take 5. Okay. There we go. The American people are being totally brutalized right now. People can't afford housing. People can't afford food. People can't afford transportation. Education is not equitable. And the top 1%, they totally disarmed us. They own our jobs. So it's all funneling up to one source. We're just the worker bees down here below. We're just the work, and that's even if you're making 100. That's even if you're making 100K a year. Even if you are an executive director, unless it's at one of these multi-billion-dollar corporations, you are a worker bee. You are a worker bee, and that is very, very real. And they want you to be that way. They want you to be completely disarmed, completely overwhelmed. They want to overwhelm your nervous system. They want you to be overworked while they stand over there. Like this guy, all smug with all the three swords, and you're two right there that they can pick up whenever they need. And you're walking away. This woman's, her hands are on her face like this. She's absolutely torn. That's how they want you. Walking away like that, like, I give up. I'm waving my white flag. Yes, I will submit. Yes, sir. No, sir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, sir. Yes, Sergeant. Do whatever. We don't care. Ask no questions. But it's funny because it's manipulative. And this is what the Five of Swords, this guy, he looks very manipulative. And they lie. They don't give full truths. They're not transparent. They use American people's tax dollars to do nefarious things that they say they're not doing, and they don't say that's what they're using it for. To fund wars, to merge us with the Israeli military. War. And it's they want you to wave your white flag. And I think a lot of us have waved our white flags because it's tiring. And for things are compounded. This affects people's mental health. This affects environments. This affects our crime. This affects the total human developmental index. And if you guys don't know what that is, that's like infant mortality rates, like the social capital and those kind of things. And those things are measured. They are measured. And there's measurements, there's studies, there's graphs that you can look at. And the United States measures one of the worst out of developed. No, the worst. The worst, actually. The worst out of the developed countries. We're a third world, first world country as far as our human rights go. Okay? That's that. Five of Swords. So when I'm talking about that, and that I want to funnel into how the Five of Swords is also coming out for personal reasons. I think a lot of us, and maybe this is me projecting, so maybe I shouldn't say us, but I think maybe you wouldn't find me if you didn't need to hear this or you didn't resonate with it. I really believe in those kind of things. And if you don't, that's totally fine. You can just take the information, do what you will with it, and, think about it, sleep on it, ask questions, Google, do some research, and that's fine. On a personal level, I think our societies, our environments, our familial dynamics, they put us in this Five of Swords energy as well. So even when there is no Five of Swords energy, we have this perceived threat. And when I'm talking about the perceived threat, I want to go into my other tarot deck as soon as I find a hair clip. So I'm not playing with my hair in the same spot for 20. Okay. Five of Swords on just like a personal level. Even when you're out of that Five of Swords energy, there's still that perceived threat. And I want to get into this Five of Swords tarot card. That's why I love tarot, because there's a bunch of different tarot decks and it allows you to dive deeper each time into the card. This card right here, it's a perception thing. Like, this is a perceived threat also. And there's also, you did really get sliced in the eye, but the other ones are close enough to hurt you. So you keep those eyes wide open. Is it there seriously? Is it a nightmare? Can you close your eyes and those swords are gone? We don't know, because it happened. And there is a literal sword in your eye. It's scared. Stabbed in the back. I think it's a betrayal, a really, really deep betrayal card. And I even would like to go as far to say that it is a deeper betrayal card than the Three of Swords. So when I tie this into the personal things, then when you get out of these systems, these dynamics that have been abusing you, that want to put you into war, that want you to be at war with yourself and unregulated, there's still that perceived threat. Because your body is just, it's such a machine that it needs time. It needs to be oiled. It needs to be maintenance. It needs to rest. It needs new technologies to be implemented. Like the data needs to be updated. Like, it needs to represent your environment. But it takes time. Like, any good machinist took time to build, and maybe that's going far, especially in our society and like the products that we have now. But I'm talking about truly good machines. Like, think about just like AI. I'm devil's advocate for AI because technology is a really beautiful thing when it is regulated, and AI can be a really beautiful tool to get us on the level of technology that we're at. We're at the level where we were supposed to be having flying cars. I think that's okay to say. Well, we all thought we'd be having flying cars. Maybe by 2030 we were saying, but still, that doesn't matter. Like, technology is kind of behind as far to where it could be, but they're using water. They're overusing the water. It's not regulated. It's a money grab. That top 1% is still trying to take everything from the workers, and they don't care because they're going to keep their water. Maybe they live on the springs. They don't give it, So even then, you remove yourself from these environments, and that there's still that perceived threat. You're looking over your shoulder, because it takes some time for your body to settle down. And then that gets into the complex PTSD part of the Five of Swords that I want to get into. You're just reacting because you're used to it. Like, you know what I mean? You're just constantly in this fight or flight. Like, you're constantly in this, but like, it's instantaneous. Your guards are up. It's in like you put your defenses on immediately because you're used to bracing for impact. I'm just the messenger. So, with that being said, our current society is very, very Five of Swords. People are abused. People are being gang stalked at a mass rate. People mental health is being torn apart by the people that they love the most and that are closest to them. People are being pushed to suicide just for nefarious purposes. I can't even say exactly what the purpose of all of this stuff is, but I do know that it's the evil trying to outweigh the good. It's not God and the devil. It's good and evil, you know? And I think that, like, I'm not saying those things don't exist, but I'm saying if we put it in this frame for people, I think people would there'd be a lot less of that gray area, you know? Because you can still be good if you did a bad thing. Because doing a bad thing doesn't mean you're evil. Evilness requires planning, preparation, intellect. You know, it's a manipulative thing. Like, evilness is not something that you just, I wake up and I can be evil today. I mean, no, it's meticulous, it's planned. Just even think about racism or slavery in the way they totally disenfranchised the Black community with literature, like research. Like, they studied this stuff. They got the Black community to hate themselves in their own community, so that internalized racism and Black people are still pushing white supremacy. That's how good they were. Damn, they were good. So it's a planned out thing. Evil is not bad, because you can do a bad thing, or you can do some bad things and still be a good person. But you can't be evil and be good. And you can't be a good person and do evil things. Again, I'm just the messenger. And the Five of Swords is a highly, like I said before, a highly manipulative card. We know we're being manipulated by our government. Some people are being manipulated by family dynamics, spouses, partners, whatever. It's just all in the energy. It's like people are really doing things for their own gain. Like, people are entering connections, whether that be platonic, familial, you know, intimate, or whatever, for gain. They have a plan when they enter that relationship. They have a plan when they enter that agreement. Love doesn't need a plan. Being good doesn't really need to be a plan. It just is, you know? And we do have to do a lot of deconstructing to be good, and because we are so removed from our true selves. Again, this card with the id, superego, and ego. We're operating in the ego, in the id sometimes. The id is the instincts, literally animalistic instincts, what we have when we're born. Poop, pee, eat. We're not civilized at that point. Humans have to be taught to be humans. That's what makes us human. Otherwise, we're just animals. Again, I'm just the messenger. That was a bar, though. That was really a bar, and I can give myself that. That was good. Now, where's I going? Okay. Okay, yeah. Because I was saying that, like, good just is. You don't have to go against the grain to be good. You do have to be taught to be a good human being, because that's being a human is not, it doesn't mean you're innately civilized. But like, that title doesn't mean you're, civilized. Humans is just us, but we're still animals. So what do animals have to be taught? What? You get a dog, what do you have to do when they're born? Potty train them, teach them not to bark. You got to take them on walks. You got to do all of this kind of stuff. Because they're animals and they need to be taught these things. We human beings are the same thing. So sometimes you have to do quite a bit of unlearning because you're so far removed from that innate. I think humans can be innately good sometimes. And I do think sometimes humans can, because think about kids when they're born. The sweetest little things. Sweetest little things. And they get bad, maybe bad parents, maybe bad environments outside of parents. If parents are good, maybe just, slip through the cracks. But there was something that happened. There was a systematic failure there that made that kid bad, or let their badness continue. I'm not saying all bad behavior can be corrected, but I'm saying a lot of it can be if it's noticed. So back to the unlearning. After we've been used, abused, tortured, we have to unlearn kind of some of the survival mechanisms that we've learned. You have to get out of survival mode, and that's another word that I'd use for term that I'd use for the card is survival mode, because then you have to unlearn these survival mode techniques. So for me, a good example is I got out of the workforce because I got tired of being ostracized because I wanted to do the right thing, and there's this unsaid code that you don't speak up about the stuff that's not working. I didn't know that. Maybe you should let me know. Maybe I would have thought about it. Or if you, I don't know if people think that everybody got taught the same thing and how to keep the society the same, so they want you to follow that status quo. But I make my own status quo because I'm me. I'm not following your status quo because I don't want to be you. Like, that's the baseline. But so I removed myself from the workforce, and I'm tapping more into my creative endeavors and in my education and my intellectual abilities and my spiritual abilities, honestly, because I got tired of being abused just for being a light and wanting things to get better and speaking up on the bad things, even if that was the manager, even if that was the executive director. And I got tired of speaking up on these things and being completely ostracized, bullied, harassed, and made to feel like I was less than and I didn't deserve to be in these spaces. So you know what I did? I removed myself. Because I'm not going to be in these spaces and trying to convince you that what I'm doing is the right thing, because I know it is. So, and I'm not going to try to convince you that I'm a good person, because I know I am. So if you're trying to convince me otherwise, my eyebrow is raised at you, and I'm not going to tolerate it. So remove myself instead of trying to change the wheel. Get off the wheel. And that's exactly what I did. And through that, a lot of healing has had to be done. And that's there's also other things personally in my life that I'm healing from, but just the constant abuse that is normalized. And you think back to like, oh, that really hurt me. That really caused damage to me, right? And it's normalized, and people are like, oh, every job's like that. And you can even think about, I want to think about some of the blue collar jobs like welding, CDL, and those kind of things, where the environment is so toxic and abusive, and it's normalized that people will be like, yeah, that's the country, I goes with those guys. And it's like, you just called somebody the N-word with the hard R. You are berating this young kid because he's learning, and you're completely bullying him. Now he doesn't want to do this thing. And you are making everybody in this workspace miserable. Those things are not normal. Blue collar jobs does not mean hard knock life. A lot of people wouldn't even be there if they didn't have to pay bills anyway. If people are going to work every day, 40 hours, 60 hours, 80 hours, 120, whatever, because I know people work insane hours. They should be safe, happy, fulfilled, respected, if they're going to be forced to do these things. I'm not going to do those things. Like, I want to be safe, respected, and all the things I just said. So I removed myself from the workforce because it's asking for too much, honestly, in this capitalistic society. And I'm just not going to put myself in abusive situations because it's bad for your nervous system, even if you don't think so. Like, some people be like, it's just a job, You just go there, get a paycheck. You're spending a lot of your time there. And as human beings, we want to be accepted and we want to be in community. And that's a natural response. It's normal. It's normal to want to be accepted in the environment that you are in, whether that's in your family dynamic, whether that's in a relationship dynamic, whether that's in a work environment, whether that's just in your community, your neighborhood. That's normal. And it's also normal once you're rejected to not try hard because you don't care. So, because as human beings, though, again, to being like we want community, we can only perceive ourselves so much as others have perceived us. And it's real. And that's sad. And it's kind of scary because, especially if you're around people who perceive you really poorly. because then you internalize all these things. And it can get into label theory that I learned in criminology. When you label someone as something, sometimes they just become that something because nobody ever told them otherwise. And that's not even who they really are. A bar again. Label theory, look into it. Because that's related to calling black boys criminals in the schools to prison pipeline. So then they end up going to prison because you're literally imprisoning them in school, making them feel like criminals. So why not just be a criminal anyway? Like, you can't label people their whole lives and expect them to become something different. It takes a significant amount of deconstructing to do those things because we perceive ourselves how others perceive us, and only until we have to. That's why, sorry, I stuttered a bit because I was going everywhere with that, but that's why the initial attachment in childhood is so important, because we need to be perceived well. We need a safe connection with our parents to know who we are. Otherwise, we don't. And you can learn it after that, but it takes a long time because we need people to tell us who we are, and we also need to tell people who they are, honestly. You know, you validate people in their experience. Oh, I'm beautiful. I know that. People withheld the beautiful comments my whole life. Jealousy, now that I know that, but I didn't understand that being young. It just hurt. It just hurt. I'm like, oh, well, like everybody else is getting compliments. Guess I might not be beautiful, but no, I'm bad as fuck, you know? And I know that now, but tell people, validate their experience. You're a good person. You're a hard worker. You're beautiful. Hey, you're funny. You're really nice. Or, you know, or even if they are bad things, they can also be told that, because then they can try to fix it. We all have bad traits about us, and not all of them can be fixed. Some of them have to be integrated because they are such a core of our being. Because again, humans have to be taught out of our animalistic nature. Otherwise, we're just animals. And we know what animals do. Watch a nature show. The pyramid. That's what we're living in right now. The food pyramid. Predators and prey. There's predators right up top at that 1%, and anybody else is the prey. So, we have to be taught out of that stuff. And if those things if being a predator is rewarded in your society, and that's people are telling you that's okay, and that's who you are, you're going to continue those behaviors. So people are telling you who you are by accepting it. And that's another thing. And you are like, oh, okay, so it's fine. Oh, everybody around me is doing it. It's fine. That's why things they need to be the truth. People need to be validated in their true experience, even when they're doing bad things. Hey, you did that, and yeah, that's actually really bad and horrible to do this to somebody. People need to be told that so they can try to fix it. If they don't fix it, then prolonged behavior, compounded behavior becomes evil. That's when you go from good to evil. And there's the middle where bad is. Because bad's in the middle. As above, so below. So that's really all I have to say on that topic. And I know it was kind of everywhere, but it's going to make sense to the right people, and I know that in my hearts of hearts. And try not to be in too much Five of Swords energy today, whatever that may mean for you. Andrea's actually out. Bye.